Well, good afternoon, Lon. Thank you for
Hello, hello.
so awesome to connect with you. I see you virtually every few weeks, and now we are again having a conversation.
Absolutely.
So, a shout out to Pat Flynn. We know each other from Smart Passive Income SPI, and perhaps maybe you can share how you got onto SPI and your background.
Yeah, so thank you. And thank you very much for having me aboard, Shilpa. This is a real honor. I appreciate it.
It's my honor.
So I am a college professor. I'm a college professor at Salt Lake Community College here in Utah, and I teach business management. And to help my students out, I started to make some lecture videos, some helpful tips and tricks videos to help them not only through their studies, but kind of through life. That can be a tricky part in our, growing up, first couple of years of college. And well, these videos just kind of took on a life of their own. And so over the span of a few years, I went from making the occasional video for a student who missed the class to starting a full-on educational content production company. So I make videos, podcasts, publish case studies, and so forth. So anything that my business students or any business students out there needs, I try to produce.
And I've listened to your videos, I've seen them, they're just very informative. And I feel like I wish I had that when I was in college.
Yeah, I get that a lot, but let's face it. I mean, not to call us out, but when we were in college,
Mhm.
there was nothing like that at all, right? I remember when they would show slide reels, right? And turn on a cassette recorder, do a slide reel. They were trying the best they could with the technology they had. And now today, you and I are trying the best we can with the technology we have to help our clients and students.
Absolutely. My clients are professional women, mompreneurs, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. And I believe that there's so much wealth of knowledge that you have, especially when it comes to the topic of passion and purpose.
Absolutely. And I really, really, there's a fondness in my heart for your mission, Shilpa, because I am a strong advocate of the mompreneurs out there. I teach at a community college, which means that many of our students are what we would call the non-traditional student, meaning somebody coming back to school after a while. And I'll have many moms come to me and say, gee, I haven't been in the workforce for 20 years. I don't have any skills. And I'm like, you have copious skills. You have more skills than many of the kids in this classroom. And I wish more, moms and the solopreneurs, women entrepreneurs would just embrace the understanding that they have project management skills, and they have HR skills, and they have time management skills, and they have coping skills, and they have mediation skills, and so forth. And these are valuable, valuable skills. Now, in the past, their purpose was to use these skills in raising a family, for example, right? Well, now their purpose is changing. Now, a lot of folks that I know are kind of like, whether male or female, mom or dad or what have you, at some point in our lives, we kind of go, I think I'd like something different. And that's where we have an opportunity to kind of reassess our purpose and channel it towards something that gives us greater passion. And so that's what I always really encourage. I don't like folks to say, oh, I'm too old or it's too late. It's never too old or too late to discover a new purpose and to passionately pursue it. So that's what I'm always trying to encourage my students to do. And so it's really cool to me that you do that.
I truly appreciate it. And I believe that the synergy that we can get now in this generation, which we may not have had when we were in college, is the fact that virtually you can have a support system of other humans who can bring in a new perspective like you have.
You know, that's a really important point. So you mentioned that you and I had met through SPI, which is basically a community by which we can connect with others and find coaches and mentors and trainers for whatever skill set we stand in need of. And today, because we live in a virtual world, we have greater access to those folks. Sometimes it's hard to find them, though. And it's especially hard to find them if you feel maybe, I don't know, sheepish or insecure or uncertain about what you're doing. I mean, it's almost as though when I have my older students, the fathers and mothers who have sent their kids out into the world and now they want to start a business, they're almost apologetic about saying, I want to start a business. And it's like, no, don't be. You need to talk about that all the time and actively look for people to help you in that regard. Because, you know, you and I both know the answers aren't written in a book somewhere on how to do this. We need to find people who have kind of gone around that block before and it can show us where the potholes are. So yeah, I'm always appreciative of the opportunity that we have to connect and with the technology that allows us to do so. I really encourage my students to connect with me post semester because I'm like, hey, you've got me for 4 months. You own me for 4 months. Why not keep me around longer? And I'm always grateful when a student, you know, sort of trusts me enough to take me into their inner circle as they start to go about their careers.
And that's interesting you should say that because a thought popped into my head. I've been reflecting a lot on teachers versus mentors and coaches. And I do believe that the way you articulated it's saying, hey, why don't you come along with me or let me stay with my journey, let me stay with your journey, is that it's like a Sherpa. I will walk along with you and I won't be dictating, telling you what to do, but at least build a relationship with a person who has been able to give you some knowledge along the way.
I like the analogy you use of a Sherpa
Mhm.
because from the outside, the lay person might look at a picture of the mountain climber and a Sherpa and say, oh, the Sherpa's carrying everything. That's their job. And it's like, no. The Sherpa is the babysitter.
Yes.
That mountain climber doesn't know jack about what he's doing. Sure, maybe he went to, you know, base camp of, you know, K1 at one time or another, but they are babes in the woods. Whereas the Sherpa has made this journey a dozen times
Mhm.
and knows all the risks, knows the opportunities, knows what to expect, knows what to do to mitigate for any, you know, accident that may happen. So no, that's not just the person carrying stuff. That's the guide. And I like the way you point that out. There's a difference between a teacher and say a mentor or a guide. In my mind, a teacher is just somebody who does this. And I do plenty of that in my classroom. I do the lecture. My videos are a lot of this. But then after I do this, I say, now listen, all I've done is talk theory at you for an hour. If you want to understand how to take that theory and apply it to the real world, connect up with me because you've got quite a journey in front of you. I mean, starting a business or starting a career of any sort can be a daunting journey and it has real implications, not only in, say, your financial economic life, but in your personal life, your family life, your spiritual life. It is going to affect you in so many ways. And it's good to have somebody around who can say, okay, just so you know, there's some red flags coming. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And the wisdom that comes with that is that you will allow them to come with their own answers So the maturity is occurring and the confidence is building. By the same token, you don't feel isolated. Again, this kind of even goes back to you and I talking about our community and working with other mompreneurs or entrepreneurs, is that there's no handbook. I mean, I started this journey about 3 years ago, and it never said, okay, chapter 1, Shilpa, you're going to go build a website.
Oh, isn't it true? Isn't it true? Absolutely. And I like that. Sometimes just knowing there are people there that you can lean on. I like to discover the answers myself. I like to discover the answers. So I don't need somebody to tell me what to do. That's why we started our own businesses in the first place. We don't want people telling us what to do. On the other hand, every once in a while, I've got a question that, ChatGPT just won't answer for me, and Google won't answer for me. And it's nice to know that I have this cadre, the support system of folks that I can go to. And even if they don't know the answer, they can help me talk through the problem. It's often said, and now I'm going to talk in gross generalities for a moment. I am stereotyping for a moment. But there's the old joke that when a woman is talking to, say, her partner or husband and talking about something, a male tends to jump into solution space and say, let me solve your problem for you. And the woman is like, you misunderstand. I'm perfectly capable of solving the problem. I'm just talking through it with you. I'm just kind of feeling it out with you as a sounding board. I just need you to be a sounding board and to help me think through it. I don't need you to solve the problem. I really like that. I've been married 35 years and my wife has taught me this. And that's what a mentor and a coach is they're a sounding board through which you can kind of bounce your ideas around and see what comes up. So yeah, it's great knowing those people are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are so many occasions when I am trying to do something, whether it's my site or something I'm building or creating, and I will be like, I just need somebody to talk to. Just like talk it through and have an opinion. But that goes back to the why we ended up in the space we are, doing the entrepreneurial path, is that there is a sense of mission, and sometimes it's you feel passion for it. It makes you want to wake up and talk it through with somebody.
Yes, absolutely. And once again, we kind of come back to that purpose, right? When you understand your purpose and you understand what it is you want to accomplish, and you have a support system in place to help you get there, it is just oh so valuable and oh so rewarding.
Yeah.
Now all of your listeners and so forth who are the solopreneurs, the mompreneurs and so forth, they need to understand, and they probably already understand because they're going down the path, but you're not going to work less when you're in your own business, and you're not going to work less hard, but you are going to work towards something that you feel is important and that you feel allows you an opportunity to make a difference in the world. And that can just be so energizing. And so I'm excited for folks who join you along your journey and include you in their networks and them in yours.
And what I love to do is put the spotlight on your passion and entrepreneurship. I see the sign in the background. Tell us a little bit about that and the content you've been producing, because I really believe that my audience needs to go check out your content, because there's so much value there for entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you. So I have Nutshell Brainery, which is my main YouTube channel. And, you make it sound like it's just the cat's meow and so valuable and so forth, but we just need to say what it is. It's a series of business lectures on various topics to help my students and so forth. Now, I try to bring some personality and animation and passion to it. This background probably tells you, yeah, the guy's a PhD, but don't take him too seriously because he doesn't take himself seriously. So I try to make the content engaging and entertaining to some degree, because yes, your listeners need to understand motivation. They need to understand time management. They need to understand managing people or managing clients. And there's all kinds of information out there on that. But they also need to understand how to apply that. And so what I'm doing now for my students and anybody else, but my North Star is my students. My Lon Schiffbauer YouTube channel, I'm in the process of kind of rebranding over to be a small business coaching resource. And so when I have you on my podcast, you're going to be over on that side. The idea is I want to help my students take all this theory that we've discussed at Nutshell Brainery and apply it in a real world setting for their businesses. And so that's what I'm doing. So just for all your listeners and so forth, just know that even when you think you've got it figured out, you're going to make changes all through your business. You never have it nailed down. And so I'm changing and evolving as well.
And that is one of the things I've realized over and over is it's like deja vu. I'll have been working on something for ad nauseum hours. And then I think I'm done months, weeks, or a year later, I'm back. I'm like, didn't I close on that?
Yes. Oh, it's so true. Or when you think you finally have the vision and you finally have kind of this epiphany of where you want to take something and you start to implement it. And as you implement it, your heart sinks more and more. And after 3 months of implementing, you realize this isn't the direction. It doesn't feel right. Sometimes you need to wear the clothes for a little while before you find out these were not the right shoes.
Yes.
We've all bought shoes, fell in love with them, and then 3 weeks later said these were not the right shoes.
I've been there. Now, before we hit record, you said that there's a model or framework for those who are still trying to find their purpose.
Yeah. So one of the things I like to try to do, Shilpa, is there's a lot of business principles, a lot of business tools out there, but these, and I tell my students, these tools are so powerful, not just for business, but for life,
Yes.
right? And one that I really like to talk about is called the 5 Whys. On the surface, the 5 Whys seems almost like stupidly intuitive. So obvious you wouldn't think about it. But if you really get down to it, for a moment, it's really powerful. The 5 Whys basically says, ask why 5 times. Simon Sinek, who's like big author and speaker in the business world and so forth, he always says, start with why. Start with why. Well, okay, that's easy to come up with why. No, it's not. You really need to work at this. So the 5 Whys goes like this. You say, you know what? I've put all my kids through high school. They're starting to move out, or at least they're more self-sufficient now. I think I'd like to start a new chapter. Why? Well, I've found a lot of reward in what I did as a mother, but I feel like I have a lot to offer, and maybe I should channel this in a different direction. Why? Now we got 2 whys. Why do you feel like you need to channel it a different direction? Well, because my kids need to grow up at some point, and at some point I need to actually live my life. these kids have been attached to me for 15 years. It's time for me to live my life. And so I want to do something that's meaningful. Why do you want to do something meaningful? Well, because there's nothing else more important. And so we start to go on, right? And you start to realize that by the third or so why, the why becomes really difficult to answer. But it's important that you answer all 5 whys, because A, people are going to challenge you. Why are you doing this? And if you don't understand the why, then you're going to have a hard time expressing to them the why. The second reason is we're going to challenge ourselves. Shilpa, you and I both know we've woken up many mornings and gone, what the hell am I doing? Is this for real, or am I just screaming at the wind? If you don't understand the deep, purposeful why, then those moments of weakness will tear you away, and you'll say, I guess I ought just look in the want ads and find a data entry job. No, no, don't do that.
No, but
Stick
it's
to your
true.
whys.
Multiple times I'll have to ask myself, well, I mean, I know my why, but still there are days where you just need that motivation.
Yes. And that's the intrinsic motivation. One of the things that I talk about with my students is that when you shift and go into a business for yourself, you're really shifting in many ways from extrinsic motivation to intrinsic. So now for your listeners, extrinsic is, I'll do it if you pay me. Where intrinsic is, I will pay you to let me do it. So for example, my wife loves to crochet. Now she works in the medical industry and so forth, but every once in a while she has a spare half hour. She likes to crochet. Well, she pays a lot of people for patterns, for yarn, for the materials, so that she can crochet. Now, when it comes to a business, in many ways, we're shifting from extrinsic to intrinsic. Extrinsic is at the beginning of your business, no one's going to pay you. No one's going to pay you. No one's going to give you health benefits. Nobody's going to give you retirement. Nobody's going to give you paid time off. Nobody's going to give you real meaningful sort of performance review feedback. They'll just go, oh, that was so good. All those extrinsic things are gone, which means you better really understand what your intrinsic motivators are. Why do you do this? Why is it important to you? What are the rewards you get out of this? What do these rewards mean to you and to those around you? Where do you think this could go in terms of you self-actualizing as a being? And when you think about all those things, you get motivated and fired up. But when you look at your bank account balance, you get demotivated. So you leave that alone for the first while. Eventually the money will come in, but for a while you're just working because you love it. And if you don't, you're in the wrong business.
It requires a lot of what I feel tenacity that comes from the inside. Tenacity,
grit, stick-to-itiveness. You nailed it.
Yeah. And again, goes back to community, having a community of like-minded individuals who have different skill sets and knowledge. It definitely supports your journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about that. And even those who are not in the community, don't discount the insights and knowledge that they have. I bounce things off my wife all the time. Now, to be clear, my wife works in radiology. She has a master's degree. She's all in the medical world, right? And yet I'll bounce things off her in this business educational world. And she'll say things once in a while that I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right. So yeah, all you folks out there, talk about your goals and your business and your aspirations to anyone all the time, anywhere. You know, you'll start to convince yourself, you'll start to convince them, and pretty soon they'll want to help you with their insights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lon. I just always enjoy our conversation. That's why I've been asking you for so long now. Please be on my podcast.
Well, you and I are both pretty darn busy, so finding that time to make it work is a little tricky, but I'm really glad we are able to connect. And again, thank you so much for having me as a guest. It's pretty clear I can talk about this crap all day long. I love it. And so thank you for giving me the platform to be obnoxious to yet another group of people.
Absolutely. I just love the conversation. I love your uh, personality and your willingness to share your knowledge. One last thing, definitely hope to have you back. Maybe you can do a series of different facets of mindfulness in business, or even just tenacity in business.
Absolutely. We should look for every opportunity we can. And I'll be sending out a little Calendly note to you as well so that we can get you over in the my current take with Lon Schiffbauer world. So expect to see that.
Thank you so much, Lon. It would be my honor and pleasure, and I'll connect with you very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you again. Have a great day.
You too. Have a great day.